Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Titans, Season 1 I guess. And this is going to be my review for Episode 3 of the season, otherwise entitled Origins. And I guess it's labelled Origins for two different reasons. First being that the Titans actually meet each other. All of them, they're all together in one room, I guess, for the first time. And then we learn the origins, or there's like, it doubles in the origins of all the characters, apart from Beast Boy. But I probably should have said this before I said that last bit, but spoiler alert, if you have not watched the episode, go watch it and come back to this video later on, because we're going to be talking about some of the bigger moments of the episode. But if you do go on to enjoy the episode and you're enjoying the Titan stuff, be sure to drop a like on it and just leave your general opinions on the episode in the comments section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So last episode was the really I'd call it self-contained in comparison to the rest of what we're going to get this series, where it was called Hawk and Dove, and we spent time with, well, Hawk and Dove. Now, we saw Dove at the end of the episode get chucked off the building, and she was bleeding out and stuff in the back of the head. She was coughing up blood, and I think we all knew she was going to survive, or at least make it to hospital, just due to the fact that they didn't confirm that she was dead at the end of that episode. Usually in shows and stuff like that, they'll say the person dies. It's pretty rare you'll get a cliffhanger and then they'll open up saying, oh, they died. You know, it's pretty rare. So I think we all knew she was going to survive that at least and then be moved to hospital. And that's where we see her in this episode. She's in like intensive care. And so I thought I'd just get that out of the way and just cover continuations from last episode. But it's actually interesting, following the end of last episode, Starfire was in Washington, D.C. Like, she was at, on the floor of the building. She was like on the ground floor of the building, and I was like, she got there quick. You know, if you think about it, like how episode 1 ended and how like episode 2 progressed, it wasn't that long. So she got to Washington DC pretty quick, and we find out in between then she had been to the Roth house, so Rachel's house, gone through there and stuff like that. So I thought that was fairly quick, maybe a bit unbelievable. I think I did hear people saying that was weird in advanced reviews. I'm not 100% sure, but actually just watching this episode, it just seemed a bit weird, but I'll give it a pass, I guess. I just thought maybe Starfire was doing stuff a bit too quick, seeing that she has amnesia. Like, fair enough if it was in the back of her head and she knew what she had to do, but she has amnesia, so she's just like sort of going through clues fairly slowly for the most part. But as I said, the title of the episode is Origins, so we dive into and dabble into some of that. A lot of Dick Grayson backstory, so we see basically the follow-on from his parents' death, where he is adopted by Bruce Wayne, but he's just, escaping all the time and running around, just being a bit of a brat, to be completely honest. And we're just seeing him struggle with that, but then also get the whole, Robin and Batman and Robin setup where Bruce basically tells him, like, this isn't the way to deal with your grief and to get revenge and stuff like that. Let me teach you another way. Obviously, hinting at Batman and Robin stuff, or Robin training. Can't wait to see that on the show. I'm guessing we'd get it. I'd be very, 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 very shocked if we did not get that at all. But one little cool thing is that when he stepped out, because when he gets there, he's got a wardrobe full of sick clothes, like way too many shoes. The shoes that he chooses to wear, and I think he uses them when he initially runs away, they're blue and black. They're like Nightwing, so I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. But speaking of that scene where he runs away, where he is wearing the Nightwing shoes, the CGI in that shot, I'm sorry, that was some of the worst CGI I've seen. If anyone's seen like that deer shot in The Walking Dead, was the CGI deer, which looks terrible, this was up with that. Like, I'm loving Titans, but that CGI shot, man, it was, if you've watched the episode, you know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, go back and watch the episode and focus on that tree scene with the CGI. Holy crap. Weird that they didn't establish this last episode, but I was happy they at least just covered it in this episode. They confirmed that Amy Roebuck died. Now, I was sort of shocked that they killed her off after like such limited appearances. Like, she died in episode 2, and I thought she was going to be a thing going forward. But I guess Dick isn't in Detroit being a cop, so it'd be weird if they just kept her relevant throughout the whole series, I guess, or at least this season. But yeah, I was just sort of surprised that they just killed her off like that. But you know what? If they were going to kill her off, they should have just confirmed it last episode, like showed us her dying. I would have preferred that than Dick getting a phone call saying, oh, Amy died. Because a lot of people might not, straight away think, who the hell's Amy Roebuck? Because they don't consistently say that in the 2 episodes she appears in. So I would have preferred if last episode they just showed her dying. But this maybe comes into a problem with the series that we'll talk about right at the end of this video. But I just thought it was a bit strange. I think it would have been better last week to mention that. Now, the introduction to Raven and Starfire meeting, I thought was pretty great. Her just, or Starfire might I say, just roasting the nuclear dad, if we're going to call him that, or the dad of the nuclear family. Just burning him to a crisp. I thought his reaction was just funny. He was like, oh, when he was about to die. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought it was going to be some weird thing where, like, it would have been weird, but like if the nuclear family were just like robots or something like that, and he just like his skin got burnt off and he was just a robot standing there. I thought it could have been something weird like that, but he just straight up died, which I thought, made sense. But I must say that diner fight between Starfire and those assholes, I thought was pretty cool. Pretty sure it's the first fight scene, at least that I've seen, to the song Sunny. So yeah, and at least Raven got a chicken and waffles. If Raven had not got a chicken and waffles, then God, the demon might have come out at that point. But on the topic of music used in scenes, the music in the show is really good, both in regards to like the actual songs, like pop songs and rock songs and stuff like that used throughout the show, and just like the themes and the score and stuff. I think it's really well done. Like the stuff with Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne is great. It's like very, as you'd expect, Batman-esque, very even like 1989 Batman stuff like that. I think it's great, and even like the scene where it's the when young Dick takes out the Porsche, which he still drives nowadays, and it has the Greta Van Fleet Highway Tune song. Perfect song, and that's like a modern day song that still feels classic, so it still fits 15 years ago, and just the sort of the classic feel that the Titan show goes for in some ways. So the music choice in the show is really good as well, and hopefully that continues throughout the season. But we go to St. Paul's Convent throughout this episode, and we got a hint at it earlier on the episode when Starfire was going through Rachel's house and found that box with all the mysterious stuff in there, which we might jump into in more depth in later episodes, unless it's just was really to pull out that photo, who knows. We go to St. Paul's and we find out that Rachel and her mother went there when Rachel was younger, or Raven was younger, to hide from her father, who, as we all know, is Trigon. It is going to be interesting to see how long it's going to take them to like fully dive into Trigon this season. I think we all know he's coming. It just matters when, because you don't want to bring him too early, but you also don't want to bring him in too late, or at least some sort of imagery of him too late. You don't want to leave it too late, but you don't want to bring it in too early. And then there's a lot of filler maybe with his character. But straight away when you entered that convent, you're like, this doesn't feel right. Like, it doesn't feel terrible, it just doesn't feel right. So yeah, some stuff happens. But obviously, as I said, the episode was called Origins. We've got some, like, with all the characters, like, different, like, dabblings into their origins. But we also get the origins of the Titans, as we see them all meet in that skate rink when Starfire and Raven are there. Beast Boy's also just randomly there, just hanging out, I guess. And then Dick comes to finally catch up with Raven after this wild goose chase throughout the episode. So it's cool having all of them in that one scene, even though it wasn't the most like cheery scene. Dick's pretty angry and they just just want to leave and stuff like that. But that's our first little that's the proper our first little hint at the Titans being together. And I think next episode we're going to get much more of that. But speaking of origins, we go to Starfire's storage shed, if you want to call it, and we see all like the alien language and stuff like that. She can speak it, but she doesn't necessarily know what it means. So finding out, I think Starfire is obviously the character we're going to have to dive the deepest into, because we're not just learning about her, she's also learning about herself. So that's the biggest issue. Like, Raven knows like what she grew up with. Obviously, she might not know all the stuff behind with her father and stuff, but she's still got a general idea for the most part. But Starfire's got really no idea. And with Dick Grayson, he knows everything. So it's sort of weird. Like, we have Dick, who basically knows all of his past, and we're just learning it. Raven, who's sort of like half and half, like there's some mystery there, but she knows a decent amount of it as well. And then there's Starfire, who just has absolutely no clue. So obviously you're going to get much more Starfire learning than a bit of Raven, and then with Dick, it's a bit more straightforward. So it's going to be interesting to see more of that Starfire stuff. I think we're going to have to wait a while, but I think how we have that look of Starfire with like the curly, purpley, pinky hair and stuff. And it is a prostitute getup. That's what she was. She was a prostitute. So the prostitute getup, I think when she finally like taps into herself and she regains all her memories, that's when she'll become proper Starfire. We've seen photos of it in some behind the scenes stuff with like the orange hair, the longer purple getup and stuff. I think when she finally taps into that, that's when she'll finally become the proper Starfire, if you want to call it. But yeah, Starfire's been researching Raven for much longer than I think she thought. Like there was, it's dated back a bit. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where that leads on. But speaking of Raven and really just diving into the origins of her, she basically gets locked up by the sisters of the St. Paul's convent, and not the best. It's basically like having a caged lion or caged tiger. You're just gonna make them angry, and that's exactly what happened. Raven goes basically full destroyer, or as Starfire says, the destroyer of worlds. I think that's exactly what she says. And yeah, that St. Paul's convent, basically the quarter that Raven was in, goes bang and just blows up. And the episode ends with Raven running into the woods. And I think that's where I'm going to bring up maybe the biggest issue with this series. It actually has nothing to do with what's actually in the show. It's just the release of the show. It's so obvious now that we're into episode 3. Like maybe episode 1 and 2 weren't that obviously. Some stuff stuck out like a sore thumb in regards to like this would have been better during a binge watch, but I think they still worked as like like a weekly release. But this episode leading into next episode, you just go, man, like this needs to be binged. This needs to be binged. And you can just tell when they were making the show, at least the first half of this season most likely, that was their aim. But obviously, seeing that the DC universe has just started, this would be the first original, they had to like spread it out so there was some longevity in regards to like early life of the streaming service. So I understand that. Going forward, it would not surprise me in like season 2 of Titans and whenever they do going forward, it is a straight up release early on, like the whole season's out at once, or maybe 6 episodes one week, 6 episodes the next week, or something like that. But yeah, like I'm fine with it weekly. It just, I think it'd be better on a binge. And I'm not the biggest fan of binge watching. Like I haven't even finished Daredevil season 3 yet because I only watch like maybe 2 episodes a day, or even an episode a day. I don't like binge watching too much. But even for me, as not the biggest fan of binge watching, I can just tell this show is like suited for watching 2 or 3 episodes at one time, or even the whole season at one time. So that's probably the biggest issue with the show so far. But it's nothing that hinders the show. It just would suit that format more, and it might just be annoying some people. But in regards to this episode, this was a solid follow-up following episode 2, which was very self-contained, while episode 1 was a good introduction, but it did jump over the place a lot, while this episode, it did jump, but everything sort of met, if you know what I mean. So I thought that was a good setup for this episode. Obviously, we do get another teasered Beast Boy, but next week is his episode. Next week is an episode called Doom Patrol, and that's basically what Beast Boy is a part of. Like, that's his origin, that's his backstory. So I don't know if we're necessarily going to jump too far into his backstory then, or we're just sort of going to get a hint at it, and then in a later episode they'll jump more into it. But, Beast Boy is going to get a massive focus next week, which is much appreciated, but it's also our first taste into Doom Patrol, who of course are getting their own show, and it's the next live action show after Titans, and I think it comes like early next year or something. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below, what was your favorite part of this episode? What are you liking so much about this series so far? Let me know all of that in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.